Let's take a minute and thank our sponsors for helping grow this podcast to bigger and better every episode. Our first one is SR3 Rescue Concepts, because you don't know what you don't know. Our next one is Life Saving Systems Corporation. We do our work so you can do yours. Tough gear for tough jobs. Breeze Eastern, the world's only dedicated helicopter hoist and winch provider. And Flippin' Coffee, brewing real coffee with real ingredients for real coffee drinkers. SR3 Rescue Concepts is a training company that can help with your helicopter training, standardization, and safety checks. Or maybe just an annual FAA refresher is what you need. They're ready to help your agency keep up to date with current techniques, rules, regulations, and equipment. The training staff is amazing, with certified flight instructor pilots and experienced crew members that are offering training in rescue, medical, tactical, firefighting, and ground operations. SR3 has partnered with Petzl to assist with a personal protective equipment inspection course and the highly specific Lizard, which is used for helicopter cliff and mountain rescue. And to add into it, they also teach ground, tactical, emergency care. Contact them today at sr3rescueconcepts.com. Again, sr3rescueconcepts.com, or follow them on Instagram at sr3_rescue. That's sr3_rescue. Then we have Life Saving Systems Corporation. Manufactures the world's toughest helicopter rescue gear. From their Triton harness, which is my favorite harness being a rescueman, to the rescue basket, litters, and of course the most popular hoist hook in helicopters, yes, the D-Lock. The team at LSC cuts, bends, sews, welds, and machines these products into existence every day and sends them on their way to us. We do our work so that you can do yours. LSC, tough gear for tough jobs. Check them out at lifesavingsystems.com. That's lifesavingsystems.com. And follow them over on Instagram at ResQGEAR. That's at Rescue Gear. Next is Breeze Eastern. Since the very first helicopter rescue in November 1945, Breeze Eastern has designed and manufactured superior rescue hoist solutions. While much of the technology and unique mission requirements has changed over the past 75 years, their commitment to the rescuers, operators, and those rescued has not. Contact Breeze Eastern today by visiting them at breeze-eastern.com. That's breeze-eastern.com. And the last one is Flippin' Coffee. At Flippin' Coffee, we roast each batch to perfection to bring that smooth, delicious cup of coffee that you won't find in most other brands. We like to keep it simple, brewing real coffee using real ingredients for real coffee drinkers. Contact them today at flippincoffee.com. That's FLIPPIN coffee.com. You can also follow them on Instagram at Flippin' Coffee. That's at FLIPPIN coffee. As a bonus, Flippin' Coffee is given a promotion. If you punch in promotion code, all capitals, REALRESQ, you get 10% off. That's promo code Real ResQ, capitals, all capitals, REALRESQ, and you get 10%. If you're just going to send everybody an email, just make sure you tell them one thing. Quinny sent me here. And thank you to all of our sponsors. It's so fun to sit down and talk to other people from different parts of the world to see and hear what they're doing on their end for search and rescue. My next guest coming to me, we sat down. We could have kept going. This podcast is a little longer, but I had such a great time and great conversation with her. She explores and brings me deep into South Africa and what they're doing down there. Volunteer work, small boat inflatables, RHIs, helicopter rescue. It's awesome. And I'm so grateful that she came onto the podcast. Kim, I'm sorry, I'm going to totally mess up your last name again, but that is the American coming out in me. So ladies and gentlemen, Kim Germishuys. And I know she's smiling because that's not how you pronounce her last name. So she's going to help us out with that here in a second. Thanks for listening. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Real ResQ Podcast today. I have an amazing guest. I'm so happy for her to be here. Her name is Kim Germishuys, which I absolutely jacked up her name. Hi, Kim. How are you?
Hey, Jason. I'm fine. Thanks.
All right. So do me a favor. Just correct me. How do you pronounce your last name?
So it's Germishuys.
Yeah, I was way off. That was terrible.
You just gotta you gotta go, when you, although a lot of people, although I do end up laughing afterwards because people just,
So Germishuys, is that's okay? That's my American coming out? Is that no?
That is literally the whole of the Northern Hemisphere coming out with Germishuys. So
okay.
Just go with it.
All right. I'm not going to feel bad then. Well, maybe a little bit. But oh, gosh. I love it. Oh, it's going to be so fun. Well, Kim, listen, thank you so much for coming on. If you could be so kind as to introduce yourself and tell everybody out there like who you are, where you're from, give us a little resume background.
So I'm from Cape Town, South Africa. And I'm currently living in northern Germany.
From one end of the globe to the other.
Oh, yes. From beautiful sandy beaches and wonderful weather to the North Sea and currently snowing outside. So, yeah, no, it's good. I'm a hoist operator for a company called Wicking Helicopters. So we do sea pilot transfers in the North Sea, and also we have two different aircraft. So we have the H145, where we do sea pilot transfers and wind technician transfers in the wind parks. And then we have a AW139 where we do offshore wind park hems. So I get to hoist on both platforms and quite a variety of different things, nice, which is really cool. But my background, well, I started in aviation in 2003. I started off as a surf lifeguard, and I finished school and I became a surf lifeguard 2001. Nice. And I used to see these guys, the surf patrol, flying around the helicopter, like in the helicopter, on my holidays and stuff. And I was like, oh, that looks so cool. And we've all watched The Guardian. Cannot take it.
Come on. Hey, that Guardian just kind of kicks itself up quite a bit in this podcast. I'm going to throw that out there. We love The Guardian.
We do.
Done, everybody that made that movie.
You sparked a light in some of us. Pretty much everywhere. But so the surf patrol helicopter used to fly past while I was on lifeguard duty, and I used to think these guys were super cool, and I wanted to do it. So eventually the opportunity came up, and I became a helicopter rescue swimmer in 2003 on the surf patrol heli. So, and that was like all inshore stuff. So we basically, I hate saying everyone knows this jump. We jump out the aircraft, or we free fall.
Yep.
So
or
free fall.
Or, what do you guys call it?
It used to be jump, and then we changed it to free fall deployment.
Okay.
Purely because of the fact of the idea of jumping, one's head is up and then down. So to get the students kind of away from the powering, like going up and then down, just free fall.
Yeah, just okay.
Yeah, just went to free fall deployment. affectionately known as jumping. Um, and there I basically, so I was on the surf patrol helicopter for a couple of years. And we also have, and everything's voluntary. So there's also in South Africa is the National Sea Rescue Institute, so NSRI for short. And they cover where the lifeguards aren't. So the surf lifeguards are at specific beaches. And Cape Town South Africa has just got this extensive coastline. So there are a lot of people going to sea and a lot of people on the coast fishing and stuff. So a lot is going on. So the rest of the coastline needs to be covered, along with the fact that the Cape of Good Hope is a major shipping route. Mm-hmm. So the NSRI does everything else maritime in terms of rescue. And my whole love for this year, I'm a complete water baby. Put me in the ocean and I'm the happiest child on the planet. Oh my goodness. So I joined Sea Rescue in 2005 and at the surf launch station, which was just up the road from me, called Melkbos Strand. So like I was a surf lifeguard at Big Bay, and then just 10 kilometers north up the coast, I joined Melkbos Strand Station 18 as a rescue boat crewman there. And
so you were a crewman on the boats as well as a rescue swimmer for the helicopter side as well, or both.
Add on the fact that a year after joining Sea Rescue, I joined the Sea Rescue helicopter unit too.
Oh, wow. Oh, so you wore a lot of different hats at a lot of different times. Holy cow.
And I had a day job.
Yeah, that's right, because you guys are all volunteers.
Yeah, so, well, I had a day job as a medical rep doing sales. I had a side job as a bartender. Did water safety events when needed, and I was a surf lifeguard, squad leader, and also drove rescue boats there, like the little 4.2 meter ROBs.
Yeah,
love driving boats. Too much fun. And then helicopter rescue swimmer on the lifeguard side, on the surf patrol helicopter, and then at my Sea Rescue station, I was a small boat rescue crew, and then also a swimmer on the boats, and then a rescue swimmer on the Sea Rescue helicopter program, which is now NSRI Station 29 ASR.
Wow!
Wow! Very busy. Yeah,
that's incredible.
Yeah, and it's just, so and in Sea Rescue, and it still is to this day, for anyone that wants to be a helicopter rescue swimmer, you have to be you can't just join the helicopter station, the helicopter unit. You have to be a rescue boat crewman too. So you have to fulfill, your rescue boat station comes first.
Yeah.
You have to fulfill your duties at your rescue boat station first, and then your helicopter duties come second to that. So all your training and stuff. So, and it's two different stations. So you'd be on duty for, so surf lifesaving, you're on squad duty every 6 weeks for a weekend. Sea Rescue, you're on 24/7 standby duty every 3 weeks, or if depending on the size of the station, there's either 2, 3, or 4 crews, and you're on for a week. And then in that week, you've got to do the coxswains, the duty coxswain usually sets up training and stuff like that.
Wow.
And then the helicopter crew, and this is the Cape Town team, trains every second, well, I don't know about now during Corona, but would train every second Tuesday at a at like an indoor pool facility in the central in Cape Town. And then they'd fly a training session with the South African Air Force once a month, if they could, depending on how much flying time there is available, the Air Force has in a month or.
Nice. So a little joint venture training there too. That's great.
Massive. And then the surf rescue helicopter eventually with, what's it called? Eventually with the downturn in the economy and stuff, the company stopped because it was a sponsored helicopter. So it was like also a flying billboard for big companies like Nokia and stuff. Yeah. That eventually, unfortunately, how do you say it? Like, fell by the way. So like there was no funding really to carry it on. So in only in one province in the Western Cape, which has quite an extensive beach, or every coast. Almost every province has got a coast, except for the inland ones, of course. But they have got the Department of Health there has a rescue helicopter. And that rescue helicopter then, all the guys that were on the surf rescue program on the surf patrol helicopter moved over onto, we were flying both AMS, which is Air Mercy Service, and the surf patrol helicopter, kind of like flip-flopping between the two, depending on where we were needed, or where we were not on duty. Like you'd serve duty at one side and then serve duty at the other side.
Wow.
Kind of, until the surf rescue program fell away. Not the surf rescue program, the surf rescue helicopter, that patrol helicopter fell away. And then AMS became the sole, what we call like inshore helicopter. So they operate a Augusta 119.
Oh yeah.
And that can't go too far to single engine aircraft. So it's not permitted to go too far offshore. So they can only really go like maximum about like 10 miles or so.
I mean, it's still, it's not terrible. I mean, get offshore for a little bit. Yeah.
But they don't do anything that's too far offshore. So many drownings in progress, boats that are missing that are close to shore, surf skiers, kayakers, the kite surfers and stuff like that. And then they do all the mountain rescue. Stuff too. The South African Air Force also cover mountain rescue depending on who is available at the time. So this is just the Western Cape, my home province. And that on AMS there, we would do training once a month. So, and the guys would try and attend currency training within I think we had a 6-month currency period for the volunteers, because most of them would also be flying on the Air Force side. So they would attend training once a month, and that would be every second Saturday. So it would be every second Saturday of the month was AMS training with their helicopter. Somewhere in between, usually in the week, was training with the Air Force. Then you still got your duty to serve with NSRI and that training, and then you have your lifeguard weekend somewhere in between. So that was my life till about 2016. From
and somewhere you have to have room to breathe. I mean,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, all right. So I got a question with all this, and that is, I mean, you guys teach rescue swimmer, which is, I know it's different than the U.S. Coast Guard stuff that I went through personally, but give me a little rundown. Like how do you get qualified? Like what qualifies somebody as a rescue swimmer?
So,
and I'm going to touch on this again later, so you don't have to go too far into it, because I love to kind of give everybody like that prequel. It's that you standardized training across the entire country. And I'm going to touch on that a little later, but how do you get qualified to to be a rescue swimmer?
So, way back when it was like the surf rescue for the surf patrol helicopter was literally like a 3-week program of 2 sessions a week, classroom based stuff. And luckily that was at the hangar where the aircraft was based, so we get a little bit of ground school. Like what I know now, if you know that saying of, if I knew then what I know now, things would be a lot more different. Like,
only too well.
Yeah. So, and then you'd go through, there was the pool. It would start off with like a little bit like a classroom sessions. Then we go into the pool and do basic pool stuff. So just because a lot of the managing your casualty in the water was covered in surf lifesaving and in our training and stuff there. So it would be quite easy to bring it across into the pool for the guys who are on the surf rescue helicopter. The other interesting part is that also the NSRI also had some rescues from it. So it was like this massive joint venture in the beginning between surf lifesaving, NSRI, and the helicopter operator to provide the surf patrol helicopter.
Wow.
And we'd go into the pool and we'd practice basically approaches and everything like that. And then it was time to go out with the aircraft, and we didn't have a hoist. So all deployments were free fall deployments, and recoveries was underslung. So underslung, short haul, as we call it, with a Dyneema line. So I think it's, if I'm correct, it's 25-meter Dyneema line.
Wow.
And that was how, and we didn't have, on the surf patrol helicopter back then, we didn't have hoist operators or external load operators. It was either the lifeguard or the NSRI guy, who were the 2 rear crew, and we would be doing the conning. So I actually learned to do voice marshalling way back when, right in the beginning, because we'd swap roles. So you kind of like, there's 2 of you in the back, and it would be, okay, right, so one flight, I fly swimmer, next flight, I fly Patra. And the other guy would do the same, or the other guy didn't feel like getting wet that day. So you did this cool like dual role thing.
Oh, that's great.
And I know, and it was pretty freaking awesome. So really thrown in the deep end very quickly, and within basically 2 months, you're flying as a swimmer. And it's not every single day training; you're training twice a week.
Wow.
Yeah, so effectively 8 to 10 sessions, and you're now signed out as a rescue swimmer. Thank you.
All right.
And then it got to like, I love rescue, and I used to, obviously, like, I'm trying to think of the programs back then, but The Guardian like really piqued my interest, and I started looking online, and I started seeing what the Coast Guard was doing, and there is always information that you can find online, and I would find the old Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer manual.
Nice. Good place to start.
and I used that. I think it was I can't remember what year I started. They asked me to start instructing rescue swimmers, but basically from then on, I started going like, what is everyone else doing? And that would be the question that I kept asking, like, what are other guys doing? Are we doing it the same as other people? How are they other organizations? How are they doing this? So that was basically how it all just started to grow. And what started off as a 3-week program turned into a 10-week program.
Wow.
And yeah, so
that's great.
But 10 weeks, obviously, like once or twice a week of classes, and the more I learned, my poor my poor students, like the more I learned, the longer the sessions got.
Oh my goodness!
Those poor guys who sometimes have to endure like now after work a 3-hour lecture, which it could turn easily into, it would start at like 6, and the next thing I know, it's like 9 o'clock or 10. I'd be like, I'm so sorry.
We need to go home. Everybody's got to get for work in the morning.
Shucks. Yeah. So it was just a constant, like, what is everyone else doing? And through that, eventually, I think it was in 2015, I discovered EUROSA, which is the Rescue Swimmers Association. And they started then going, well, how's everyone else doing things? And let's start talking to more people. And this organization has just absolutely grown. And I got accepted into EUROSA in 2015.
Okay.
And I just started bleeding people dry of information.
Nothing wrong with that.
And
that's how you do it.
Stuff.
You get all the information from everybody else, and you start making your own program. It's
exactly it. I mean, even coming earlier than that, and I totally forgot about them. Whoops. The 103rd Rescue Squadron from the rescueman in New York.
Yeah.
Based at West Hampton Beach. We worked with them, our ASR Station 29 unit, worked with them over a period of 4 years, starting from 2008 or so. And I met them on 2 occasions, and we would just knowledge share. They came to South Africa in 2009, 2010, and our guys went there in 2010, and my group went in 2012. And it was just,
the PJs have got some, amazing what the pararescue men do. Those guys are awesome. They're awesome at what they do.
And they've just done such epic rescues and stuff. But we also taught them a thing or two from like South Africa, which is pretty freaking rad.
Yeah. And you know what? Anytime you can get some good knowledge sharing back and forth from anywhere, I'm all in. I love it. You know, those. Yeah.
It is just that is the one thing I love about our industry is just that everyone is so keen to share their knowledge and stuff like that, because it is like, and it's all born out of like also the interest of safety. So it's just,
it's great. Oh man, that's awesome. So now let me go a step further. Ready? So you get qualified as this rescue swimmer. You do that 3-week program until you're put in charge. Again, we're going to touch on that a little later.
Yeah.
And now you're standing duty. What is your first case?
I think it was like most first cases especially in Cape Town in summer, drowning in progress. And I remember actually, I remember this quite well. So remember
as most of us do, by the way.
And funny enough, I didn't know, like, I remember how I said that you would way back when it was the Surf Patrol helicopter and AMS were you kind of like jump duties between the two, right back in like 2003. And I remember racing them to a call.
Who's going to get there first? Let's go. Put the pedal to the metal.
Aircraft were activated for this call. So you've got 2 105s racing along the coastline to get to this drowning in progress. They won. and we were like, okay, fine. And I think the casualty was out already, so they wait. And also they emergency services or AMS is always equipped with a fully qualified paramedic on board. and stuff, because they also do, or as I said, like they do mountain rescue, they do sea rescue, and they do interfacility transfers.
Wow, they're a busy unit.
Oh, they are massively busy, and so they landed, and they got that one. We flew back off and flew along the beaches, went shark hunting. Yes, that's a thing, to look for sharks at the back line of some of the beaches.
Nice.
Yeah, and then just go and carry on patrol. And then I think the next one too, they also got activated to the same mission as us, but we were slightly delayed to them, and they got their first two. But that didn't, I think after a couple of months, the how do you say, the dispatch center realized, the call center was like, yeah, this is split. This is using two really good resources at the same scene.
Yeah,
we could use one at
one at the other.
Yeah. First our case is, yeah, unfortunately, drowning in progress. It's back. They're never really successful.
Yeah.
Fine. As the currents off the the coast of Cape Town, all around the Cape Peninsula, are just not great. So once that person gets into trouble, and also if you know anything about the coast of South Africa, it's known for its rough seas, and I mean it's a surfer's paradise for good reason.
Yeah.
So I hate to say it, but I got to a point of where I'd hear the word drowning in progress, and I'd just go, here we go again. And
that's a bummer.
You're just like, you're just going, I hope I find something, but I almost know that I'm not. And some people are probably going to like slate me for saying that, but it's reality. And I could only get my hopes up for so much time before it would be like, you let it, you don't want it to depress you. You want to be able to go there and go, okay, cool. You know what? We've got a job to do, but I'm going to steal it's that conditioning factor.
Right.
And I think so many people in first responder roles actually know that whole factor of getting to a scene and just composing themselves.
Yep.
So basically that's a lot of like what I would do. One significant one that I remember was we flew to the coast. We flew to Hart Bay, which is quite a nice beach. And I remember they'd recovered the guy out the water, and it was CPR in progress, and having to run a kilometer up the beach to get to the scene, and then kind of go like, find out they were like, no, it's fine, we've got like all the medics and stuff are there, and it's not a problem, and then run back to the helicopter again and go tell them. Didn't have to Marine Band radio at that stage with me. I don't remember why. Bad swimmer.
That can be that's just lessons learned for later. That's okay.
Yes, or just try to get the aircraft to land closer.
Hey.
Yeah. But when I think of it now, the amount of CPR in progresses that we landed at was quite a few, and I do recall quite a few times of doing CPR on the beach in a wetsuit and stuff, and you've like just landed, and but the happy ones were like finding kite surfers, and 9 times out of 10 there was a boat on the water, because that's a big thing, that the helicopter usually is, weirdly enough, the last resource to be activated. So you've got the surf lifeguard or NSRI going out first, and then the helicopter gets activated. and they've obviously got to do start up and then take off and then fly to the scene. So you're always second to get there. And I do recall like finding a few kite surfers lost from their kites, because the Cape, they call it the Cape Doctor, it's just the Cape Southeaster. That thing just blows straight through, and kite surfing is massive in Cape Town. So yeah, so that was generally on the Surf Patrol helicopter, like the ones that we did a lot of. So
that's incredible.
Yeah.
So with all these kite surfers, everybody that you've gone down to, conveniently enough, like you and I have talked offline quite a bit, and there's a couple things that I have to ask you about, because if I Google your name, there's some stuff that pops up, and I'm like, hey, this is pretty good. And actually, what we're gonna do is kind of chronological order. But the first one I want to talk about is, it's called Seri 1. Is that accurate?
Sealy 1.
Oh, Sealy 1. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sealy 1. And in this one in particular, let me get there real quick. You guys are in the Sea Rescue magazine, dated October 30th of 2009. And I'm going to read just a little bit of this. And then you gotta give me the rundown, because this is pretty stinking awesome is what this is. So let's see. As the workday ended on Monday, 7 September 2009, and people were heading home, a typical Cape storm that was lashing the peninsula. The gale force northwesterly wind brought with it driving range and bitter cold and huge 5-meter swells that battered the coast. For the rescue crews on duty in Cape Town, the first hint that they were to abandon their warm beds was an SMS at 2300 hours from Station 3. Bulk carrier ground off Blowberg. Duty crew, please be on standby. The 177-meter bulk carrier, Seli 1, with 25 Turkish crew members on board, had been at anchor in Table Bay, awaiting engine repairs when the storm struck. With the relentless battering of huge waves, the link broke on her starboard anchor, and with her damaged engine not up to task of keeping up with her position, her stern was soon swept into a sandbank. For a short while, it looked as though the crew might be able to coax enough power to move off the bank and into deeper water, but the constant battering was too much, and she was pushed hard into the 12 meters of water off Dolphin Beach. Set after set smashed into her bow and ran down her side into the beach. Seli 1 was in big trouble. Holy cow.
Yeah.
That's a way to get something started.
She was broadside to the beach. So literally, I think it was a season or two before, another container ship landed up on our shores. And if you have a look at Cape Town and Table Bay, it's not that big. And it's quite a sandy bottom, the whole seafloor there. And it was a regular thing when container ships or bulk carriers would start in a mass. So northwester is the wind that blows in winter. And when a big northwest storm would come through, at least one ship started to drag anchor. And Sealy 1, unfortunately, as it said, Doug, her anchor broke, and she was pushed broadside into the shore of Dolphin Beach. And that whole section is actually quite a how do you say it? The beach is quite steep.
Okay.
So the profile into the water is quite steep, and then it comes into it has quite a deep gully, and then it has a set of big sandbanks.
Oh,
so
gotcha. Just offshore.
Just offshore,
you
yeah.
get that deep incline going into that first bit of beach, and then there's a mound of sand, we'll call it, that's still underwater, but just offshore.
Yeah, so you just have the waves, like as they hit, say, the first sandbank, and this is what I was explaining earlier on about like the really very hectic currents. So they jack up, hit the first sandbank, and they're massive, and then they break, and then they hit the next sandbank and break again, and then you get towards the shore, and you can also end up with a shore break.
Wow.
So yeah, it's just this freaking, it's just a long impact zone.
And break. You've got break after break after break.
Break, reform, break, reform, break,
Oh,
reform.
Smokes. Jeez.
And it's, I think the impact zone is roughly about, like you can say, it's about at least up to about a couple of 100 meters out to sea. And that gully in front is quite, it's quite deep, the first one. And that actually forms a nice parallel to the shore current. So that night, I remember getting home from dinner, and I was about to get into bed. Message went off. We used to get a text like an SMS forewarn. I was like, okay. And then realizing that it was a really stormy night, and I could hear the ocean from my place. And the next message came in, and I was at Station 18, Melkbos Strand, and it was respond to base. So rushed off to base, and back then Melkbos Strand had a 5.5 meter semi-rigid inflatable.
Okay.
And due to the conditions, the coxswain decided he's only going to take 2 other crews. So another coxswain he chose, and then myself, because I'm a strong swimmer. So we get into our 5.5 meter semi-rigid inflatable, and everything kind of looks okay at Melkbos, because where Melkbos is also like a sort of a bay that is protected. Actually got a little bit of a shake while I'm telling this. Sorry. And it has this kelp patch that dampers the waves. And the quickest way, there's either a channel straight through the kelp, which which has been made, or you can go around. And I think we went round. So we took the long way around, because the channel you need to know that. I think we went round, if I'm correct. And the minute we just came around the corner, and we started getting hit by these swells, and it was, well, not even swells, just breaking freaking waves. And at one point, you're just climbing up it, and you realize, wait a minute, this thing is bigger than our 5.5 meter boat.
Wow.
And we reckon that the waves must have been at least about 8 meters.
Holy cow.
Going out, yeah.
Holy cow.
And
8
coming
meter
up,
waves?
and yeah, we were climbing up, and I was looking down, and I was like, holy, this is fun. This is like, we're climbing a mountain.
Yeah.
And I know one of them, like on 2 occasions, we hit the wave, and we basically went up vertical, and I was looking straight down past the motors, because we had 2 outboard motors.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked straight down past the motors, and we just came straight back down on our motors into the water, and then landed. And on 2 occasions, the motors cut out.
Holy smokes!
And you're just going, hold. And they're trying to get the motors started, and you're calling waves, and the coxswain is just, he's trying to get the motors running. The other coxswain is at the back, pulling on the start cords. Eventually she starts again, go, next hit, impact down. And I just, there's a few occasions where I've gone, and I'm sure you've been in these before, when being in the water, and where I've gone, please God, let me get out of this. I just
Yes.
can we please turn around and go home? Like
Yeah.
it was the lights of Melkbos just getting further away, because this is now like, I think it was like almost midnight, and we hit another one, and again straight up, and I thought, this time we're not going to come down. We're not coming down straight. We're going to capsize. And by the grace of God, we came down straight on those motors and landed flat. And he was definitely looking out for us that night, because again, she cut out. And again, just in time, they managed to get those motors started. And it was just, we looked back and we went, we cannot go back. So we could not turn around and go back to shore, because we could not read. It was so dark and so gross out there that we could not read the surf the way that we would want to.
Yeah.
So the only thing we could do was proceed. And to get down to Sealy 1, it was about a 15 kilometers to get all the way down there.
So you had another 15 kilometers to go before you even got to the ship?
15. Mm-hmm.
Oh my good Lord. And you're getting your ass handed to you right now. And sorry for all my US and Imperial friends, that's about a 25-foot wave that they're dealing with. That's your 8 meters. Like, sorry, 20.
And a
24.
And a 5.5 meter semi-rigid inflatable,
which is about a 15-foot boat. See, I got to help out my Imperial friends.
I cannot do that math for the life of me.
That's okay.
So we just
incredible.
pushed on, like went deep, and then pushed on between the swells, and eventually started to see the glow from the scene, because one of the big salvage tugs had arrived, was on scene. So they had just like all their lights, and plus Sealy 1 had all of her lights on, and we just pushed through, and then got there, and Station 3, which has a 12, my guys back home will kill me for this, has a 12 or 14 meter Rodman deep sea rescue boat. They were trying to come alongside the vessel, but she was still kind of facing a little bit into sea, and they could not come along the Jacob's ladder, and because of how do you say it, like, it was just how manic the swells were just coming alongside this vessel. So at one point she then swung broadside, and this created a lee, and we were able to put one of our crewmen on board of the Sealy 1, and he went up to go and basically initiate the evacuation process. And the Rodman then came alongside Rescue 3's big boat, and Rescue 3 then started to get rescue all 25 crew members off of Sealy 1. But it had to be done in stages, because the swell was still wrapping around this vessel, and it was just massive. So, and then myself and Mike, so we'd put the other crew that was with me was Mike Jubber and Kobus Meyer, and Kobus Meyer was on board of Sealy 1, and myself and Mike were just puttering around in our 5.5 meter, luckily in this lead, just going like, I can't believe this. Well, we've just gone through. How are we getting home?
Yeah, because you still have 15 kilometers to go in the other direction to get back.
Well, Mike then made Mike was the coxswain, and Mike made the decision that we weren't going back to Melkbos. We were actually going to go.
Great.
We were going to go straight across to Cape Town, and follow. I think it's probably about roughly the same amount of distance straight across the bay, so through deep water, and then try and go in at one of the smaller like boat launching sites of the harbour, on the side of the harbour. So the fun and games went over it. So we get all the guys are now get off, and they're all evacuated off onto Rescue 3, and now we've got to get Quibus back onto our boat. So Quibus comes and climbs down the Jacob's ladder, and we're waiting with the swell. So the ladder's like up here, and it's like swell takes us up, swell takes us down, swell takes us up, swell takes us, and he's holding on, and he's like times it, and as he times it to step onto our boat, we hit a trough. And he's just hanging there.
Oh my goodness.
And he ended up dropping into the water, and I was like, shit, crap. Quickly recover him into the boat. And I was just like, really?
Wow.
Great. So recover Quibus back in. Thank goodness, like we managed to do that really quickly. And then it was like the long dark slog back to Cape Town. And we got past the breakwater of Rescue. We followed behind Rescue 3. Rescue 3 broke away to go into Cape Town Harbour because that's where their base is. And we had to still go another like 2 kilometers to along the coast to another little launch site. And as we were coming past the breakwater, we just got broadsided by this wave. And it was just like, seriously, can we take more of this? And Mike just went, no, we are not going in at, and the launch site is called Oceana Powerboat Club. And anyone from Cape Town and the region knows that Oceana Powerboat Club in heavy swells is tricky to get into. It's fun on a good day. So in those conditions, just like an absolute no, we're not going in there. He said, screw it, I'm going into the harbour. Radio port control and said, we're coming in. And we next to Station 3, luckily we were able to moor up on their jetty. But oh no, we didn't moor up on their jetty. Our guys came across with our trailer, and the slipway, the repair slipway next to Station 3 was actually free. I got down on the ground when I touched solid ground, and I kissed it. And anyone can think kissing a slipway is just gross, but I was just so happy to be on solid ground. It was insane. Like, we just couldn't believe what we'd been through. And it still had to go to work the following day. But it was insane. And that vessel actually, Sealy 1, they were never able to take her off the sandbank. They eventually, she sat there for a while, and eventually, because of divers and stuff, they had to, and then there was an explosion on board while doing salvage operations, and they just ended up blasting her completely.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. That's pretty gnarly.
I've seen gnarly fun stuff on helicopters and fun stuff on the water. And the following year, we were recognized by the International Maritime Organization for that rescue because of what we'd basically gone through.
and you saved 24 guys off that ship.
No, 20. I think it's 24, 25. Yeah, it was a joint operation. I mean, gosh, it was interesting. It was definitely interesting. I'm glad that they all got a ride back with Station 3, with Rescue 3, because they have got a lot more space on their vessel, and we're very lucky to be I think sea rescue stations in South Africa are very lucky to be able to be supported by sister stations.
Yeah.
So when one goes out, another one is on standby in case the other one needs backup. And generally, I mean, sometimes both stations go out at the same time, like this one. So yeah.
Man, nice job.
Thanks.
Wow.
Great career. I can just put it down to some like excellent flipping helmsmanship from our guys.
Jeez, oh man. You know, it's stories like that I listen to and I'm like, wow, the stuff we do to go get those in need, you know, it's just.
Yeah. I sometimes wonder what's wrong with us.
Nothing. Not a thing. Not a thing.
We're to each other. We're normal.
Yes, totally. Yeah. It's to everybody else. It's like, what is wrong with them?
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh man. Well, all right. So now let me go to another one because there's a couple I want to talk about here. Because again, you know, when you start looking up your name, things pop up. So in this one, let me double check this here for a second. That's not that one. This one, you ended up in another Sea Rescue magazine article, and this one is for what's called the Robben Island Rescue. And there's a couple, sorry, there's a couple things that are written on this that I got to read, because when you start reading some of the stuff, you're like, what? This is awesome. So this article out of Rescue Magazine was written in the summer of 2013. And it says, I'm going to give a kind of synopsis of it, but at 0004. So that's 12 in the morning, or 12:04, right? It's 0 o'clock. Yeah. Start of the day. It's dark out on Tuesday, August 13th of 2013. I'm sorry, in 2012. On arrival, on-scene efforts to get the crew off from Seaside with our rigid inflatable rescue craft darting in between wave sets under illumination from white illuminating flares provided fruitless as waves between 5 and 6 meter sets rolled in, forcing our rigid inflatable rescue craft to abandon the efforts each time to avoid being capsized or rammed into the rocks. The situation intensified when it became clear the vessel was hard aground on rocks and listing at a 40-degree angle, and casualty crew had no further choice and began to abandon ship under their captain's instructions. At first, only one of the casualty crew managed to get on shore. So the NSRI rescue swimmers waded, swam, and jumped from rock to rock in between the crashing waves to reach the ship, where 4 casualty crew members were found perched on a rock below their listing vessel. They were helped ashore by the rescue swimmer by swimming them and then helped them over the rocks to reach the shore, while wave sets continued to crash over the vessel and over the rescue efforts. The rescue operation was finally completed at 5:17 a.m. So you started at midnight and ended at 5 in the morning. That's insane. That's crazy.
It's generally almost like that with, I'm not going to lie, with some stuff you start off at midnight and you're finishing. I mean, that occasion I actually drove home when I should have been driving to work.
Now this was a rescue of 12 personnel, right? 12 crew members were rescued. Oh my gosh. So
this rescue, we call it the Claremont rescue, because the vessel's name was the Claremont. And I can say that I still live with it to this day, because I suffered like really bad injuries from that. And like the constant movement of me doing this is all originates from that rescue. Yeah. So that was another, literally every winter we have just these storms just pounding into the Cape the Cape Coast, and that was pretty much a storm on par with the same as the Sealy 1 storm. And I remember arriving at base, and we'd heard of vessel aground, the back of Robben Island, and the back of Robben Island is directly on open ocean. And if you ever look at Google Earth images of Robben Island, you'll notice the back of Robben Island is actually, it's just rows and rows and rows of rocks. So it's just rock straight, it's just like rock cut. So just like rocky ridge down, through to the island itself. So, and open ocean swell just comes and slams straight in there. I mean, it's not unheard of to have 8-meter swells off the back of Robben Island and stuff in a heavy storm, because I mean it's the open Atlantic.
Yeah.
And I remember going, there was not enough time to change at the station. I was actually still getting into my wetsuit as we were motoring out of the harbor. So myself and the other rescue swimmer were down in the forward cabin, putting on our wetsuits and just getting flung about as we cleared the breakwater and started to hit the swells. And the 12-meter rodman, because I changed rescue stations. So I had moved from Station 18, Melkbos Strand, to Station 3, waterfront. So we were based in the Cape Town waterfront, and we went out in our big boat, and they activated Station 18, Melkbos Strand, with their, they had changed to then, I think they had a 6.5-meter semi-rigid inflatable, and they'd activated Station 2, Buckhoven, and if I think they either a 6.5, I think they were also coming across with a 6.5 or slightly larger semi-rigid inflatable. Okay. So, or 6.3. Either way, 2 semi-rigid inflatables and rescue 3. And so we went out to the back of Robben Island, and I even remember at the back, for some unknown reason, one of our engines kept cutting out, and myself and the other rescue swimmers, before we even could attend to the scene, had to dive under our boat to have a look and see if there was anything fouling in our props, because now we're attending to a fishing vessel and maybe it's fishing line underneath. So yeah, I provided cover underneath, like shone the torch, while Giles went and had a deep look underneath the vessel to see if there was anything in the props. And it was nothing. We couldn't understand what kept cutting the engine, but they sorted it out, and it was decided that Giles and I got on to either Rescue 18 or Rescue 2, and I got onto Rescue 2, and he got into Rescue 18, and the guys were just setting off illuminating flares because we could not see the vessel. It was basically perched on a ridge at the back of the island, and it was basically teetering like this with every wave that was coming. And it was also starting to break up because it was a wooden trawler. So and I can still remember hearing the captain, because our vessel had made radio contact with the captain of the vessel, of the casualty, and you could just hear him saying, we're breaking apart. And in your mind, you just go, just please hold on. And shame, the guy was so tired, he just kept going, I don't know what to do, and I don't know how much longer we can take this. And our radio operator was just saying to him to stay on board, we're coming. And I didn't get to hear the rest of the radio comms once I got put on the semi-rigids. But I remember us going in and trying to get to where they were, because we had now no clue how far were they offshore, where they were at the back of Robben Island, because Robben Island has no lights. It's an island that is inhabited on the leeward side. So the side that they were harder ground on is uninhabited and it's just wild. And I remember just trying to look for any form of light coming from them. Until eventually we realized, I think it was one of the boats just got in and caught a glimpse of where they were and realized that they were actually on the rocks and it was breaking and the waves were definitely breaking, which meant that there's a chance that we could get in from shore, because there was no ways in hell we were going to be able to get a swimmer ashore that way, get a boat even close to them, because you don't know the profile of the rocks and stuff like that. You're gonna mess up an entire crew.
Yeah, and you can't see anything either. Like nothing's illuminated. Wow.
You can't even get anything close enough to illuminate it. So they had a Oryx helicopter, so that's the South African Air Force. The helicopter crew was sitting on the flight line waiting to go, but it was just squalls and squalls of weather coming through, and they could not get a clearance for takeoff because it was just, the weather was just that shit. And so the decision was made that maybe we should try and go from shore side. So off the two small rescue boats, the semi-rigids go around to the harbor of Robben Island.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously everyone's asleep. They know nothing about the fact that there's a rescue happening. No security doesn't know this. And for anyone that knows that Robben Island is the infamous prison where Nelson Mandela was held. So it's a national monument and museum and stuff. So it's really like, it's sleepy. Like there's nothing really going on there. And we got around into the harbor, no security because no ferries are running and stuff. And somehow someone managed we saw a vehicle. So they took the swimmer's reel off of one of the rescue boats to this we call it a bucky. So in America, you got everywhere else they call it a truck. So put it on the back of this truck. Someone found the security guy.
What do you guys call it down there?
A bucky.
A bucky?
A bucky, yeah.
Put it on the back of the bucky?
Okay. Put it on the back of the bucky, yeah. So we have this open bucky, and someone managed to find a security guard to be like commandeered their vehicle. Said, we need to get to the other side of the island. And there's all these guys. These guys must have been going, what on earth? Here are these guys in wetsuits and with gear, and they're just, we need to go now. Take us to the other side of the island.
Oh my gosh.
So we drove around to the other side of the island, shining lights and stuff to where we could actually see, and we spotted the four crew perched up on a rock, because they'd managed to get across onto like this rock and just kind of like standing there, and then behind them was the Claremont on this other ridge. And what we did was then the guys we ended up going and basically getting like rescuing these four guys off and bringing them ashore, and then rigging the swimmer's line from the reel, tying it off, and then tying it basically across to below the vessel. And I still remember at one point like trying to, and the gullies are quite deep, so it's like it was like ridge gully, and at one point the one gully that we had to wade across was chest deep. And while pulling the line across, I remember holding the rope and to connect to rope and holding it. And I actually twisted my arm in such a way that I tore my rotator cuff.
Ouch.
And I felt it go, but that's just adrenaline going.
Yeah.
And we tied that off. And funnily enough, Cobus Mayer, who had been with me on my Sealy 1 rescue all those years ago, was also there. And he swam across to below the vessel the Claremont, and was then talking to the crew, because obviously you've got the crew up there on the deck, and they're just, these guys are just freaking out. And we then basically formed like this human chain, and it was just handoffs. So Quobus would be underneath the bow. He would receive a guy, and we had a line tied off, and he would swim halfway across the gully, and this gully was particularly deep. Swim halfway across the gully, then I would come across halfway, pick up the casualty, bring them to the next rock, and then Quobus would go back to the vessel. Then I'd hand off to awaiting the other rescue crew, and then they'd hand off until the guys were then safely on shore. I think there was maybe about 8 rescue swimmers basically working this. So and
you're doing this with a torn rotator cuff. Let me just throw that out there too.
Yeah.
Holy smoke.
Adrenaline does amazing things to a person. Like, it really does. And then, so, and I remember particularly, like, so we got all these guys across, and the last guy was the captain. And Shane, this guy did not want to, he was tired. He was too afraid to jump into the water and come down. So I went across to go and assist Quobus, and we coaxed him into the water. And as Quobus and I are basically pulling him along the line, so we had, like, I was wrapping him like this, and then one hand on the line, and Quobus was on the other side, and we're pulling along. And as we get towards the rock where we basically were handing off to the next set of crew, I don't know how far off we were from it, but this wave just picked us up, and we just started. So he was wearing a life vest, like the dot life vest.
I don't know it specifically. I'm going to go like just a standard crew life vest from a boat.
Standard emergency one. Yeah. Those big boxy things.
Yeah. Yeah.
He was wearing one of those. I was wearing a wetsuit and a helmet. So at least I had head protection, and this wave just started. This wave ripped us ripped him away from Quobus towards me, and ripped us off the line, and just started driving us towards the rock head first. So we're surfing it, and you had that split decision. And I just realized that if we carry on going like we're going, we are going to go head first into the rock. I'm not too worried about myself because I know how to brace and stuff, but this guy is going to have an even worse bad day out.
Yeah.
So I grabbed him, and I just turned him onto me, and that so he was basically in front of me, and I had my back to the rock so that I could brace us. And I went into the rock in a seated position. So basically, like I am sitting now, and just back with his weight and the weight of the wave.
Oh man!
Slammed straight into the rock. And the guys caught us, and then we managed to then climb over the rock and limp back to shore. In the meantime, the guys had been transporting all as they'd gotten groups of all the casualties to shore. They basically drove them, because more people were awake now, drove them across to the harbor to the awaiting rescue boats and medics and stuff. And it was so funny. It's like, what I noticed was my knee was sore. Because I'd knocked it at some stage on a piece of wood from the vessel and stuff, and I didn't really, like, my back was sore, and I was like, that was quite a hard hit. The ride back was just as much fun, because now you're just slamming, and these poor guys in the forward section of because we're coming backtrack to the harbor, and it was just all the rescue boats were all there, and once everyone was loaded and boarded, we then made the journey back to mainland. And just getting back to mainland as well, I just remember it was just, even the swell going back was harsh, and now it's like 5:30 in the morning. Coming back in, like, had didn't decide to shower or anything like that. Just got straight dressed, and I was in quite a lot of pain, and got back. They took all the guys to. I remember the guys all got taken off to hospital. I just said to the guys, "Yeah, I've injured myself. I'm not quite sure what it is, but I'm sure I can check it out later. I've got nothing that I can see." Driving home, I can remember I phoned my boss and I just said to him, if you listen to the news, I've just come off this rescue that has just happened. I'm not going to be at work. I don't think I'm going to be at work this morning. I have to go and see a doctor, or I have to go see my physio. Got home, climbed in the bath, and that's when I realized, when everything started getting all warm, that something was desperately wrong. And eventually got a physio appointment, went to physio, and my physio just checked out my back and just went, ER now. And I walked down to the ER. She booked me in, and I had actually sprained my spine from top to bottom.
Oh, good night.
Yes. She said to me afterwards that she doesn't see people walk in with those injuries. That's usually equivalent to someone that is in a car accident. So it's severe whiplash from top to bottom, plus the torn rotator cuff. And I was put on bed rest for a week. 2 years down the line, I actually had developed a condition called thoracic outlet syndrome. And yeah, quite insane. It doesn't stop me from doing anything, but I'm pretty sure, like, I wouldn't be surprised if anyone listening to stories that kind of goes, I remember that rescue and that injury that went with it.
Wow.
But yeah, it was such an epic rescue. Like, it was like such amazing teamwork, how everything just worked out, and
organized chaos.
Yeah. Organized chaos at its best, but it's just like, things just go, yeah, too much fun. I love the Cape Coast and her oceans.
Damn, Kim. Wow.
Yeah. So
that is freaking gnarly.
Yeah. It was fun.
I gotta let that one digest for a minute. And
yeah. It's it's just those seas happen. I think it's just...
Well done. I mean, 12 lives saved. So that's what we do, and that's why we do it. Nobody wants to be injured. Especially the rescuer going out. You don't plan on being injured to go out to get somebody. There's always that underlining factor, that underlining risk, but
how we put our bodies on the line, basically.
Yeah.
At some points, I think it is what we do to get it to, there is that point of life over limb sort of thing, where that situation is not going to be good for you. But there is that line where you're not quite, you don't think you kind of go, oh no, I'm going to be fine.
Yeah.
I can totally deal with this.
Yeah.
I think my gnarliest rescues are definitely have been with boats and not with helicopters.
Well, you know what though? I am going to touch on one because you guys got hoisted. All right. So let me do one more, because again, the rescues you've been through are incredible, and I mean, I love hearing these stories anyway. But you did have a helicopter rescue, so now I'm going to move past this one, and you get called out and off for a heart attack victim off a ship. So this patient is straight up having a heart attack on board.
Yeah.
So you get called out, let's see, at 8 o'clock in the morning. And it's everybody. It's a volunteer, 36-year-old man, suspected suffering a heart attack. And right here it says particular, let's see. So the rescue operation was made particularly difficult by rough weather, causing the vessel to pitch and roll, and limited by a space on the foredeck. But on this particular vessel, it was further impeded by the foremast and the deck rigging. So you guys had weather to deal with, waves to deal with, rigging. Like, this is your standard, let me go to the smallest possible spot on the ship to rescue a guy that's straight up having a heart attack and without you guys would die.
It's your standard recipe for a helicopter rescue, Jason.
Absolutely.
Go on.
You know,
it's like, small spaces, rough seas, bad weather. Send a helicopter.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So now the cool part about this in particular case, so you go out in the helicopter and it's you and a intensive paramedic. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys are going down together. So give me a rundown. You guys get launched out.
Yeah, we got launched out, and let me pick something off. It's worthwhile to note that the paramedics actually aren't from Sea Rescue, from NSRI. They're actually from the state organization, the state paramedics, the Metro Rescue. So they come along they go with NSRI if there's like deep sea calls and stuff like that, where medical attention is definitely is possibly needed. So on helicopter for helicopter SAR missions and medevacs and stuff, they will go with. And this particular case, we flew out with a Oryx, a South African Air Force Oryx, which is what we did. What they do, or speaking as if I'm still there, all their offshore missions with. And the ceiling was quite low. There was a lot of moisture in the air. It was drizzling and stuff, rough seas, and the vessel was heading back towards the harbor, because coming in to meet us, and she was a solid iron fishing vessel.
Okay.
So we can imagine there is that wonderful thing called static electricity. Whoa! So Kim did not know about that so well until that mission.
But I'll help you out later.
I actually, and this is also where like part of it comes in and shows like a lot of the, as I say, like the greenness of us, that being volunteers on helicopters, like we don't, unless you've been taught about it by someone else, you don't really know, and hence the searching around the world for things, for information. So we weren't flying with a static discharge cable at that stage, and the waves, I think, what was the sea state was pretty cool, pretty nice. The boat, as you said, was pitching and rolling and all over the place. So the hoisting procedure of getting me down onto the deck took a bit of time, and the vessel had so they took me down onto the bow, and the vessel's crew came forward to come kind of grab me because I was swinging all over the place. I think at one stage I said a very nice hello to the radar dome, which was I remember going towards that and then going, whoo, like coming past it again. I was like, that was close. And
hey, if you haven't run into something at least one time in your hoisting career, hanging from the bottom of the helicopter, man, come on.
Yeah. Like being able to count bolts on something, you're like, oh, is that how they do set all that up? So come past, and so the guys come to try and grab me on the foredeck, And as I get close, like within a meter of them, and they touch me, just all that static discharge just hits them. And one of them is thrown back. The other one's just lets go of me completely, and out I swing again. And I was just like, whoa, okay, that was not cool. Now I have to go through this again when I try and get onto the ship.
Did you feel the static discharge through them?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
cool. Okay, just making sure.
Yes.
Just making sure.
It's a shocking experience.
It's
shocking. They basically get me onto the vessel.
Maybe you light up my life.
Oh, wait, it's coming. I have never experienced this before. I never want to experience it again. Get onto the deck and like painfully disconnect the hook, send it back up. And then they send the medic down. And as they send the medic down, like we're now like right out on the foredeck, right against the bow on the railing. And he's coming in towards me, and I know it is going to hurt. And I reach out for him. As he comes, swings over just that railing, and it's a solid iron railing. It's not like the railings with like the holes in them. It's a solid gunnel. And as he comes towards, the static discharge between his foot and the top of the gunnel was a lovely blue arc. And I just went, whoa, oh, okay, right. This is definitely going to hurt. It's hurt him now, so now he knows, but it's definitely going to hurt me again when he comes closer again. All right, get him onto the deck, and it's just like, so he immediately goes and gets to the casualty. And now I have to receive the litter. And we're not working with the high line. Don't ask me why. But we're not working with the high line. And
you know what? We learn. We continue to learn the process as we continue.
This is where all of this comes in. It's just that, learn by experience. No, use high line in future and discharge lead. Or static cable, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever. It doesn't matter what you call it. Get rid of the static.
Yeah. Get this thing on deck. Let go. And off we got to go now. Get this to go and assist with the casualty. Bring him. He is in a stable condition, thank goodness, because it just would have been like compound to everything if he was not stable. And now we get him onto the deck. And now I've got to catch the hook. And it's a swinging hook without a weight on it. And that was it.
You don't know quite yet to just let that touch the ground or touch the boat, then grab it. You're not quite there yet.
So here comes the other thing, is that there's tons of fishing nets.
Oh yeah,
so that we're standing on.
Yeah. Oh.
Do you want that hook like landing in fishing?
No. Grab it.
Yeah.
Suck it up.
All over the place. So there's reason to use the high line, or tag line, a trail line.
Whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it. There are tons of names for this thing.
Yeah. Oh, rope.
So hook comes in, but now I'm trying to not touch it with my hands because my hands have had enough. I'm trying to hook it in the crook of my arm.
Nice.
Eventually get it in the crook, and they pay out cable. Hook the medic and the stretcher up. They go. Then it's myself and the bags, and it's like each time was the same process of trying to just getting
just meat hooking.
Yeah, you just had to. And
that's a great tip and trick, by the way. You know what? I'm glad you actually mentioned that, and that you figured that out, because that's one of the things when I go teaching guys in different classes, that especially that have never been hit. It's like one of those things, especially with a long sleeve shirt on. If you have a long sleeve shirt, short sleeve shirt, or when skin hits it, just doesn't matter. But if you can meat hook that right into the crest of your arm, right into that elbow section, man, it dissipates. It still hurts, but it's not nearly as bad as just trying to hit it with your fingertips.
Yeah, because it's just, but the thing is, the natural reaction of your reflexes, your fight or flight, is to let go.
Right.
It's the same as why they say when you want to feel something that's hot, or even for a shock, you go at the back of your hand, because the reflex can then take it away.
Yeah.
Whereas if you go on with your palm, you're gonna contract. And so yeah, I'd done enough contracting for that day. Just grab it again, the last one, and hook up. And they lift me off the deck and into the aircraft. And I remember finally getting into the aircraft, and my rescue officer, so we always flew with Sea Rescue with a rescue officer. So there's a onboard guy from the rescue organization that kind of like facilitates everything in the back and talking with the pilots, and they've got all the maritime knowledge to assist everyone on board. And I remember looking at my rescue officer once the hoist operator had flight engineer had unhooked me, and I kind of like burst into tears. I was like lying on the floor, and I was like crying because I was in so much pain. I was like,
I'm sorry, I'm laughing. That's awful.
Oh no. He looked at me as if to go like, what's wrong? And I'm like, whiteboard, it's so sore.
Everything hurts.
had to go get checked out. Both of us were basically booked off. The medic and myself were booked off because we had to go and have an ECG done afterwards to go and just check that we were okay, because of the amount of electrostatic energy that had passed through us. that was definitely a memorable rescue. So
Those are the ones. Wow.
No, it's always fun having to explain to your boss why you're not coming back to work if you haven't told them that you were leaving work in the first place.
Yeah. Wow. Man, awesome. Well, good job.
Oh, yeah. So it was good times.
Well,
definitely good times. And then I became a hoist operator.
Yes, you did. So you keep learning, you keep going, which is awesome. And one of the things so after all these stories, like you did something which was incredible to me personally, because I'm like, man, you took it to a whole nother level. And basically, when you started reaching out, you touched on this a little bit in the beginning when we first got here, but you went around and you started messaging everybody and their brother. And actually, you and I talked about this offline. I believe I received an email from you, and then I ended up leaving or losing that email, so I was not able to respond to you. So now once we reconnected, it was like, oh yeah. But you did a lot of research to find out how other people are doing it and to best train and come up with qualifications and come up with a training plan.
Yeah.
And it specifically says in another article here that after working her way to an NSRI sea rescue swimmer, Kim was in 2003 put forward as a training officer for the ASR in Cape Town and was subsequently asked to review the NSRI training materials implemented countrywide. So they took all of your stuff and you made it a countrywide standard all through South Africa.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that was actually I think it was roughly about 2009 when I got asked to officially be a training officer to do training for the association, for the institution, the institute. So basically what happened was that in rescues in 2003, 2005 then. So I have to think on my timeline. Roughly in around 2007, I got asked if I was willing to instruct the surf rescue program for helicopter surf rescue, because of the fact that I now was part of NSRI and I was part of surf lifesaving, and I understood both organizations and what the entry requirements were and how each organization worked and stuff like that. So I ended up becoming for Air Mercy Service, for AMS, I ended up becoming the rescue swimmer, rescue swimmer officer or trainer. So
Okay.
I with them in 2009, when they moved from the squirrels, they moved over to the Augusta Westland, the 119. We had to draw up a whole new, basically, manual for this new aircraft on how to deploy, like do everything basically from scratch, because now it's a different aircraft. And I worked with a guy back then, funny enough, Ifan Blake, who happened to be the captain who eventually got me into hoisting. Another story later on.
All right.
Blake and I basically drew up he did with the guys from Mountain Rescue on the mountainside, but we came up within the protocols and the procedures for the sea rescue side. And from that and helping draw up that whole program and also managing that program, so all the rescue swimmers that were flying and all the and overseeing all the training of all the guys that would fly on the AMS platform, then that's the inshore helicopter. The sea rescue then said, well, why don't you do our training on the sea rescue on the sea rescue helicopter station too? So I basically then branched out into doing training rescue swimmers that were doing the inshore helicopter stuff and then the offshore helicopter stuff and all the search and rescue and also medivacs and stuff. And I was going, we did not, I mean, it's South Africa. There's not a lot of money down there for training. You have limited training budgets and stuff like that. So we were fortunate enough to have good enough equipment and flying with on the sea rescue on the sea rescue station on ASR. We were flying with the LSC harnesses, which we had. And on the inshore helicopter,
you guys were using the TriStar harness specifically from LSC, right?
The TriStar harnesses.
Yeah. Great harnesses, for one of the first ones that I started with. Love them.
Yeah.
I like the new ones better, but yeah.
Game changer. And the thing is that the Triton for the guys is just, when the Triton came up, it's just too expensive to buy.
Ah, gotcha.
That's the other thing. The South African Rand, if you do a comparison between any other global currency, is like you're looking at 15 rands to 17 rands to a euro, and that's also to a US dollar. So anything that you guys are paying for, times that by 17, and that's what is going to have to be paid down in South Africa.
Gotcha.
And considering that it's a voluntary organization, so they're getting all their money in from donors. So it's very budget orientated and stuff like that when it comes to kit and gear and everything. Yeah. So you scrape and you just and we didn't have big training facilities like you guys have got in E-City. And so what I did do was I then started reaching out. We had the connection with the pararescueman at the 103rd Rescue Squadron, and got information from them online. The U.S. Coast Guard manual was the old one, was still there. It was one of my first manuals that I ever acquired from overseas, and I poached a lot.
Yeah, hey. You're in South Africa. What are they going to do?
Yeah. And I had this notion of like, yes, we're down here at the butt end of the world, but there is just so much more going on outside. And without a lot of money, I can find ways to improve and develop our procedures in a safe and effective manner. Yeah. And that was my thing. My forefront is always safety. And I started then, and then when I joined Eurosa and made contacts in Europe, I started asking, like, how are you guys doing this? How are you guys doing that? And looking at what each organization was doing and basically cherry picking what would work for South Africa. And at the time, while I was working with everything, our rescue swimmers across the country, so we had in Cape Town, we were flying on 3 different types of helicopters. So our rescue swimmers could move between 3 different platforms. Up the coast, there was another 119. There was a Jet Ranger at another base. Then further up the coast, there was an Oryx, another Air Force Oryx helicopter. And then at my last station, the AW109.
Wow,
so
nice.
I realized that there was a definite need for standardization around the country. But with that standardization, I couldn't be too specific with hard and fast SOPs.
Right.
So what I had to do was basically, and everyone knows this, once you get out the door, once you get on the hook or in the water, pretty much the procedures are the same.
Agreed.
So your recovery, you're dealing with your casualty, your strop pickup, putting someone into a litter, all of that is the same, roughly. And then there's a few tweaks. So I developed a program that, as I like to say, was plug and play. So there was a foundation.
Yep.
And then each unit would then adapt according to the helicopter platform that they were working on, whether they were on a helicopter with a hoist or whether they were on I had then a separate thing for guys who were doing the short haul back to shore for the inshore helicopter. And we developed then the manual grew. It grew from this really thin thing, and the guys before me did such great work getting it to where it was. And then basically I just expanded on it, because I realized also that we needed to have more ground school knowledge and knowledge of flight and how a helicopter works and what happens in certain cases. And there was more to working on the airframe than what I had learned before, and that needed to be incorporated. And it just grew and grew and grew, and it turned into the one core piece was that the guys for sea rescue would then do a 4-day intense ground school course, and it was ground school and pool work. And the NSRI also went, and the guys from Station 29 went and built an indoor hoist simulator type thing.
Okay.
So they got a vehicle hoist and some big fat mats and stuff. And we did dry in a warehouse.
That's brilliant.
Basically practicing the fundamentals of being recovered from the water, which is great, or even from the deck of a ship, because
that's
all of that
brilliant.
stuff, hand signals, where to look, your situational awareness, all of that was then learned in a controlled environment.
Yep.
And also in Cape Town, we had and they still do have it, the use of a Hewitt facility from the Cape Peninsula University of Technology. And that's where the guys train every second Tuesday. And they would give us full run of the place, not of the Hewitt, but using their winch over the pool. So, and they also have a platform. So the guys could practice free falling into the water. They could practice being hoisted out of the water. We would kick, like massive kicking waves and with the hose pipe and everything like that to simulate weather, and do all of that in the steep pool. And then the guys would go back, and I'd come up with a program which they had to fulfill of how many dry hoists they had to do before, so off over the airfield, and with the high line, and I say high line because that is the words that I use now.
No, it's fine.
And with the high line and everything at the airfield, before they were allowed to go out into the ocean and go and practice first from the water, and then off of a boat. And my big thing was that I always preferred, and they still do it now, is that a new trainee should always be first the casualty for a couple of training sessions, so that they get that experience of being picked up. And I'm pretty sure guys are doing that elsewhere all over.
Yeah.
They experience the rescue swimmer coming in and getting them out of the water and recovering them and seeing everything, rather than just straight in. You go and rescue someone.
That's great training. And everywhere I go, you have to be the rescueman and you have to be the victim. Everywhere I go.
Yeah, and that's basically I'm a little sad that I left South Africa when I did, but the opportunity came up here in Germany. But that whole course structure, I had basically had going for just over a year before I ended up leaving SA and then handing it off to other people. And because of South Africa and how much it costs to just travel as well, like pre-course wise, what they did was they took all the course material and we put it into an online schooling format. So the guys could basically go online and go and do all the elements and ready themselves before they went on the course. So it was my baby for I don't know how many years to get that done. And it was pretty cool when I got to see it at like fruition and the first lot of courses go through and stuff, and I was like, this is pretty rad.
Man, Kim,
here we go from the bottom of the world.
That is awesome. That is absolutely awesome. Like all hard work is paid off. Good job, man. To be implemented across the entire country too, that's impressive. Like, you were handed a very large task, and it sounds like you've done an amazing job to get it to where it is. So kudos. Good job.
Thanks, Mick.
Bravo Zulu, baby. Well, Kim, I have taken a ton of your time today. I cannot thank you enough for coming on to the Real ResQ with me and just sharing these stories and man, this is gonna be awesome. I love it.
Thanks.
So,
thanks, Jason. I am so honored to have been on here. Can I leave you with one quick story that I totally forgot? And I know you're going to love this.
Come on.
And I'm sure there are tons of people that after I say this are going to be like, I've done that. First ever jump free fall deployment out of an aircraft was an Alouette 3, and it was back in the day. So really back in the day, they used to let the lifeguards who are going to be the casualties jump out the aircraft. So you get a helicopter ride. It was always like, who wants to be the casualty? And because you got a helicopter flip out to the back line or however far out they wanted to drop you. And then you got to jump into the water, and then you got to be rescued, and it was super awesome. And my first time was in an Alouette 3, so obviously it got landing gear, and I got told, do not jump up. So I was like, okay, fine. So not going to jump up because the blades are like there. Thinking the blades are like 2 meters above me. There's no way I'm going to jump up and hit it and then go down. So I push out of the aircraft, and no one told me that where your nose goes, you go. At that point, I learned this lesson on the first day, and I fell out the aircraft in like that position.
So basically, Face forward. Coming into the wave.
First time jumping out an aircraft, face plant straight into the ocean. Bah! And I swear I blacked out for like a mere second there. And I thought I'd actually broken my nose. I came up and I was like,
am I bleeding?
I'm fine. I'm fine.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But that I thought I like actually have been thinking, I was like, I must tell Jason that she'll love this. So
hey, if we haven't face planted at least one side of the aircraft, you're not doing it right.
Yeah, but dude, this has just been absolutely awesome. I'm loving your podcasts. Absolutely loving them. I like stand in the kitchen. I'm like, oh, it's so good.
You know, I'm in awe with this one in particular. So thank you for the stories. Yeah.
So humbled at that. Thanks.
No, I appreciate it. So
yeah.
Jim, you're amazing. Until next time.
So are you, man.
Sure. No, I'm in good company, so thank you. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Real ResQ podcast. Please take a minute and, like my daughters like to tell me, like and subscribe. Oh yeah. I'm pulling chocks and taking off. But before I go, if anyone out there has a rescue story that they would be willing to share, I would be humbled and honored to have you as a guest. Or if you have any questions about any of the rescues or anything else that we talk about here on this podcast, send me an email, therealresq@gmail.com. That's TheRealResq@gmail.com. You can also check us out on our Facebook and Instagram page at The Real ResQ. That's at TheRealResQ. I also want to give a special thank you to all of you staying on the watch today. Always remember that when that SAR alarm goes off, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. Until next time, fly safe and swim hard.